G'day friends and fans, welcome to Dave Talks Stuff Ukraine. We're up for update for March 12th, 2026. Now as the war continues, I'm your host, the author David Applegate. As the war continues, the war of words continues, and there's a lot of misinformation and propaganda out there from the media industrial complex. And a lot of them are Ukrainians on YouTube producing endless videos about so-called victories, where they allegedly liberated the entire region of Ukraine, which Russia hasn't actually occupied yet, and is in the process of actually attacking right now. But the thing is, for Russia to advance into a town, hold it, and then withdraw, why wasn't that land added to the amount of land captured and then withdrawn, which would actually be a net zero? No, they had to only make sure they put the size of the small town in as captured from Russia, where it's not listed as captured by Russia. See how the lies and hypocrisy and manipulation of statistic goes? I mean, overall, this war is garbage. Now, morals is doing the right thing regardless, right? Regardless of your side and your politics, if you don't do the right thing, that's what politics is. To ignore morals and ethics, to lie, to deny, or just outright fabricate information in order to win. That's all they care about. Winning's the only thing anybody cares about. Over and over again. That's all. All they care about is winning. And you hear it, right? Oh, your morals, you hear it all the time. Lectures on, your morals are meaningless if we cannot win elections. Yet people out there, you're to blame because you vote for immoral politicians knowing they're immoral, like Gavin Newsom. You know Ukraine is in the wrong, yet you won't stand up to Ukraine. Yet liberals stood up to Cuba and Vietnam. Heck, liberals stood up to every war. They just weren't always right or popular. But if you can't give credit where credit's due, if you can't be moral, if you can't do the right thing, this is a liberal war. And now the Republicans are going to be slammed with the consequences of this war and stuck supporting liberal Europe forever with their cowards' crusade against Russia, because they can't take out their frustrations on the Middle East or Africa or China, because they totally lost the plot. They never considered how important their alliance is with America. No, they expected Americans to be compliant in everything. That's not a good fit, where they expect you to back them on everything. That's what liberals do. All they want is to win and for you to make sure that happens. So they attack you if you don't do what they say or do what they want. In other words, be their slave. Now, there are many failures on the battlefield. Russia has not overwhelmed Ukraine. And again, that's because they don't have overwhelming numbers. In order to have overwhelming numbers on the battlefield, you have to have at least 2 to 3 times the troops you're facing. And even then, you don't guarantee a victory. No, Russia is grinding Ukraine. Now, they only have small battlefield advances every day, but eventually they start to be noticed. That you eventually start to notice the gaps between here and here are shrinking, that there are more ridges and little push-outs on the frontier, and eventually they do reach towns and stop. As you can see along the front, they have reached towns. They've slowly cleared the fields, keep Ukrainians out, and start to work around, and they eventually start to push. But for now, most of the front it has not achieved any goals. Russia has not yet to launch a big push, which was expected during the winter, a big push into Kotokoskia. But they've had pushes here and there and had small victories, and you can see they've taken more land north of Pavlovsk. They're now taken, pushed the Ukrainians back. You can see the gap here is all but gone. So no more fighting over the Ukrainian, fighting over the Pavlovsk rail station so they can bring in a trainload of Ukrainians. Nope. And also, the Russians occupy the rail junction here anyway, so they would, although you could likely get a train through, but yeah, it's a death sentence. So Russia's made gains, and yet again, the misleader, the lamestream media, listens to the Ukrainian propagandists who go up and say, Russia's lost, Russia's losing, Russia's lost territory. Yet there's the map, Ukrainian map, says otherwise. But of course, people want to believe. They want. They've also, the Russians have made gains here, small gains. However, they are fighting on the outskirts of the towns. They haven't overwhelmed the towns here or here, and they've made only tiny progress here. They're inching towards Orkiv, and they're pushing out here. They're making gains. They're pushing out, right? They've made gains here. They're pushing out here. Again, where's the 400 square kilometres? Oh, they say how they liberated this territory. Really? They're on the outskirts of this town. They haven't been pushed back from it. And you go down, and there's only a few blips on the map, which are open fields, which may or may not be occupied by Russians. They're just, we liberated this town, but you weren't there. Russia weren't there. Russia weren't there. Yet all these towns they liberated in this area, they counted this whole area as liberated, but Russia hasn't invaded it. Oh, they're in the process of invading it, but they're not here, pushed back to here. But somehow all of this is liberated from Russia, even though Russia's not there. And remember, they didn't add this territory to the amount of territory taken by Russia. Now, whether it's the failure of the winter campaign or the aging equipment, T-80s are being scrapped. Not many. Those in the battlefield are staying in the battlefield, but T-80s are being sold off or scrapped. Mostly to China, where they're rebranded. But right now, one of the things hurting Russia is the exports to Iran. They're not getting paid for it, so they're going to eventually cut their losses, I think. You would think they would do that. But yeah, it'd be hard to abandon an ally, particularly one so loyal for so long. But I think Russia's got to realise that Iran was never their real ally, and the true alliance would be to call out their bullshit and not have to worry about their friendship. All right, so here we have a T-72 railed into a workshop. They immediately replace the track. They go to work on the track. Actually, while they also have to. They start blasting all the, the snowfall off it. Yeah, they got to wash the tank down. Now this is what it looks like after they've done work on it. Doesn't look much like a T-72 anymore. It's starting to look like a T-80 or even a T-90. Well, there are similarities, but they do have a. And yes, I know, it's in English. And you're going, why is the Russian tank in English? It's an illustration, and they don't want to tell you what it really looks like, so you don't know what it. So There, that's what it really looks like. You don't have feedback in Russian on a screen. You just have the screen showing you what the gun's pointed at. And there you have the cinder block, reactive armor blocks. The block style, yeah. Block style, you see them all over. Now they're taken into a workshop. Yeah, that's the inside of the turret. And yeah, the tanks are stripped down. Cables are replaced. The hull is given, when removed, is given we call it a caustic bath to strip all the old paint. It's also heated to de-stress the metal, to heat the metal up, get that expansion, and then allow it to contract slowly, so that all the you get what's called a cold weld of all the cracks or any flaws. Because even though you get that slight opening, you also get that closing when it's cooled. Okay, so it's tempering the steel. Now, this is just all stats about it taking a 120 millimeter hit from a advanced Sabot projectile. Yeah. So you got the standard gunner's sight and the secondary gun sight, and you get a big fire. As you can see, it's still a 125, but it's bigger. It takes a bigger shell. It may not be, still might only be 125, but it is let's see. Okay, here goes through the history of the of it, right? Increasing the operational range, increasing its speed, not by much. There are different sizes as it's gone through the different transformations over the years. And yeah, it's one of the more cheaper tanks out there. And yeah, it does go back quite a way. But it's slightly lighter than the T. Smooth ball. Slightly lighter than the T80. But it's been more successful than the T80. Like I said, the last variant to roll out is just there's a lot of overlaying, and yeah, there were a lot of exports to Ukraine, by the way, and Ukraine developed the T80 into the T84, as well as a lot of T72s were upgraded. Now, as you see, it's only slightly bigger, Speed's where it's got the big difference. It's got a much bigger engine. But yeah, T80 has been scrapped, sort of. Has service, yeah. Mostly exports, failed export programs, failed armament, rearmament. So there's the modernization package. A lot of them have T72 or T90, and the technologies are split between the two tanks. Yeah, only 50 tanks were upgraded as of 2022. Last one rolling out, deliveries underway since as of August 24, with the last one recent. Now, there were some deliveries to other countries. Most of them have, as you can see, former operators stopped. Yeah, a lot of countries have stopped buying the T80. As you can see, they lost to other tanks, including the Leopard. It's just faster. It's got a better gun. Even though, sometimes you just don't win on cost, right? Even if the tank's cheaper, they look at some other things: survivability, parts availability, hostility. Like, what if hostilities break out? Will we be able to get parts? And if you're buying from Greece, buying from Russia, where are they going to get parts? This is the problem. But Russia was going through the process of becoming a Western ally. And had this process gone through, wouldn't have just been Russia, would have been Ukraine. And Ukraine and Russia right now would be selling gas to Europe, would be undergoing transformations, would be a retired politician sniping from the sidelines, but no one would care. Everybody would be talking about the border of Russia, how the Chinese are encroaching on it. There'd be British and American companies rebuilding Russian factories. Everything would have been on plan. Why? Because the world plan was not cooperation with Russia. The WEF were always planning war with Russia. All that talk about rebuilding Russia, according to Hollande, was smoke and mirrors to buy time to arm Ukraine. So, Russia's given up on the United Nations, by the way. And hasn't most Americans? Now, Putin has revealed the scale of the war in a series of talks with the people. Now, according to him, over the last 6 months, Ukrainian forces have maintained control of 15 to 70% of the region. I think it's poorly translated. I think he means control 15% down from 17%. And that's over 6 months. That is terrible. But then again, the translators put it, reports recent between 15 and 17%. Yeah, I think they poorly translated this. But it doesn't matter. The point I'm trying to make is Russia has advanced. Russia is happy with its slow advance. And they're angry with the UK hiding behind Western allies to bomb Bryansk. Now, I don't know why they would bomb Bryansk. I think there's nothing there other than provocation for war, and that's what they want. To provoke a wider war, like they did in Cyprus, like they did in the Middle East, like they did in Poland. Throughout history, there's been provocations that often don't make the mainstream. And when you talk about them, most people tune out because it really hurts people to hear something they don't know and can't verify. I get it. I'm trying to use as much verifiable information as I can. Information that, even if it contradicts the Russian media or the Ukrainian media. And I'm really disappointed, but I shouldn't be surprised that Russia takes Iran's side. Russia's just as political as America, if not worse at times. Britain is absolutely painful when it comes to politics and morality, choosing always the side of power over right and wrong. But as you can see, the state of the Ukraine war is a quagmire. Russia seems happy with the quagmire. They seem to, while they are focused on capturing this, right? You can see, that it's less than a third of, it is around 50. It's not that big. They have made gains, it was 20% 6 to 12 months ago, and now it's down. All of this Donbass, all the way down to here, right? All the way down. They've taken most of this territory. But it's been a slow grind, right? And it's absolutely undeniable that this is the slowest war since the Battle of the Somme. But it is also undeniable that Russia is happy with the progress. And whether or not I say their progress is good or bad does not matter. Does not matter to them what you think. I am merely passing on the information. Russia, quite frankly, doesn't care what Zelensky thinks. Russia even offered deals with Zelensky before, and and the thing about the Bryansk attack, it comes while Putin was on the phone with the Americans. And again, Trump needs to take a moral stand, right? But he's playing too many, politics now, and it's frustrating. We got to clean up our own side. If we clean up our own side, we can knock back so many of the world's problems. But then again, so many people out there want chaos and mayhem and destruction, and they want to reshape the world into one world, one race, and and they think that if we get rid of borders, they'll be able to go to Karachi and have Pakistani rice, jasmine rice for breakfast, fly to Paris and have French croissants. No, none of that. It'll all be just blah. It'll all be gone. What Paris? It'll be all the Africans. There won't be French croissants. There won't be French people. You forget. All these different things, all these diverse foods come from diversity, not from having Africans in France. And Africans in France don't bring culture. You don't need 1 million Africans for an African restaurant anyway. There is a cognitive dissonance in the world. And we got to get better at our arguments. We got to get better at presenting our arguments. We got to refine our arguments. We are so used to relying on liberalism, mental illness, but liberals more and more are making videos where they present themselves as intelligent and well-meaning. And so we have to break down the lies behind it all. And I'm doing my part. I'm breaking down the lies about the Ukraine war. Unfortunately, far too many people love Ukraine and think the sun shines out of their ass, and those who hate Ukraine don't want to watch my videos. So thank you all for watching. I really appreciate each and every one of you. Please like, share, and subscribe. Please support the channel and support me on Ko-Fi, Patreon, buy my books, buy my merch. Appreciate each and every one of you. See you in the next video. Bye for now.